Um, Respected CA Dr. Sanjeev Singhal, the Honorable Chairman of Committee for Members in Practice ICAI, most respected past President, Honorable CA Prafulla Chatterjee, and my mentor and other panelists of today's program, and dear participants, good evening to all of you. It's my proud privilege to welcome you all for today's very important program for young members mentoring, which is handled by eminent faculty, the panelists that we have, and also inauguration by none other than our beloved and most respected past president. We call him past president for all others. As far as I am concerned, he is my president. I President Prafulla Chatterjee. And as all of you know, my dear friends, we Committee for Members in Practice has been doing a lot of programs for the benefit of the small and medium practitioners. So particularly, the audit tools, which is the brainchild of the Honorable past President Prafulla Chatterjee. So when we have been talking about the audit tools and to see that the digital in the digital era, each and every chartered accountant, but including small and medium practitioners should conduct the audit in a digital era by using the audit tools. The audit tools, to get the audit tools is a very costly affair. Small and medium practitioners will not be able to hold them up and use it during the course of audit. So that's where, so Honorable Past President thought it fit that we should do something for the small and medium practitioners. And instantly he has taken a decision when a proposal has gone from Committee for Members in Practice that earmarking rupees 30 crores for getting the audit tools developed. Be the audit the documentation tool and data analytics, digital and the practice management software. They are all in the primary stage where the RFP has been floated, and now it is in the stage of evaluation of the bids. I think the moment that the entire bidding process is over, in less than 6 months' time, all these audit tools will be in our hands. So the traditional practice which you have been doing is the yesterday's thing. But today, particularly post-corona, we're all in the digital era. In a virtual mode, we are running our offices. In this era, so there's a need for these audit tools. The credit goes to our Honorable Past President Prafulla Chatterjee, and the reality of to pave the way for these audit tools to see the light of the day. It is CS Dr. Sanjeev Singhal who has put in a lot of efforts, and by forming various committees to see that the entire bidding process started off very well. So apart from this, we had a lot of other initiatives. Anyway, now the topic is different. So I'm not going through the entire initiative that have been taken by the Committee for Members in Practice under the dynamic leadership of CA Dr. Sanjeev Singhal, who have been doing a lot of professional related, non-professional related initiatives have been taken. Beneficial programs have been initiated by the Committee for Members in Practice. Because as you know, Dr. Sanjeev Singhal himself is a great human being, doing a lot of human service for the benefit of the membership. Particularly the Corona time through CA Parivar and other organizations. So I'm happy to work with him, with his wisdom. We are carrying forward all the initiatives of the Committee for Members in Practice. I welcome you once again. Thank you for a very good participation today in this program, the initiative and the interest shown by all of you. So with this, I'll stop. I welcome you once again, and I'll hand over the proceedings to Honorable Chairman, CA Dr. Sanjeev Singhal for further proceedings.
Thank you very much, Prasannaji, my co-chairman in the committee and a permanent co-chairman of the committee for member in practice. It is for your third year in running, and a person who has sacrificed the chairmanship has chosen to be a member of the standing committee, doing great work in the examination committee and spearheading the board of discipline. And your contribution to the committee for member in practice is immense. Thank you so much, Prasannaji. And probably it was inspiration from your sportsmanship also that India has got the highest ever medals in the Olympic. You are our Olympian in the council. So thank you, Prasannaji. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome you all in today's program, which is on a very, very different theme. It's a young member mentorship program where 5 young guns are there as a panelist. And to mentor them, we have my president, my first year president, CA Prafulla Chatterjee. Thank you so much, sir, for joining as a keynote speaker. Although Prafulla sir does not need any introduction, but since it is young members mentorship program, so let me introduce him so that the young members take inspiration from his profile. Sir has been the president of the ICAI in 2019-20, and the vice president in 1819. During his tenure, various important initiatives and decisions such as Udin, self-service portal, digital learning hub, and a 30% reduction in fee for various certificate courses were implemented. In fact, SSP and Udin have been the hallmark of various reforms. Sir has been serving ICAI for almost 2 decades, started his journey as WIRC member, then WIRC chairman, and now he's in his 9th year of being a Central Council member. He's also the global chairman of the executive committee of World Congress of Accountants, which is going to be held next year in India, and this will be the first ever occasion when the World Congress of Accountants will be held in India. He is presently also the chairman of the Ethical Standard Board and is a member or is a board member of the Confederation of Asian and Pacific Accountants called CAPA. He has served on various national and international organizations such as SAFA, IFAC, SMP Committee, CA Worldwide, Integrated Reporting Council, etc. He's also a director in ICAI Accounting Research Foundation, Director, Indian Institute of Insolvency Professional of ICAI, Director, ICAI Registered Valuers Organization, Director XPRL, India. He's also served as an independent director in IRDA, and currently he is in various committees of ICAI, and he's also been associated as a member in various committees like SEBI's Primary Market Advisory Committee. Thank you so much, sir. And I would request you to kindly guide our young members in this mentorship program. Thank you, sir, and over to you.
Thank you, dear Dr. C.A. Sanjeev Singhal, the chairman of the committee, another dear friend, the vice chairman, Prasanna ji. At the outset, before I talk to the young members, let me congratulate both of you and the entire, the committee for arranging various programs for the benefit of the members who are into practice, and especially for the young members. Friends, I do remember, way back in 2014-15, we had the Young Members Empowerment Committee, like we have the Women Members Empowerment Committee, and then the President, CA K. Raghu, made me the first chairman of the Young Members Empowerment Committee. And since then, I have been interacting with the various members and try to understand their, issues and all those things. And thanks to both of my council colleagues, Sanjeev Bhai and Prasanna ji, it was the collective wisdom that how we can empower the profession, and various initiatives for last 3 years. It is not the 1 year when I was the president, but if you had witnessed, all these 3 years of fantastic work has been done by the ICAI. Friends, why I'm talking about ICAI also? Because when we see the entire ecosystem, it is somewhere the profession, it is the outside world, it is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and it is all my young members and the other members. This is the profile of our profession. And therefore, at the council, whatever we do, we always have the members and students at the first thing in our mind. And based on their requirement, the council keeps on doing, so many things. Last year also, pandemic was there. If you are seen for the students, we have rescheduled our examination many times. Prasanna is the permanent member for last 3 years in the examination committee. Sanjeev Bhai is also contributing for members. So various initiatives we are trying to take for which are beneficial to the members and the students. So this is what the ICAI does at the top level. Now coming back to the, your individual level, when you are either into practice or into services kind of thing, when we talk about this entire thing, we always talk about what is the future of the profession, what is the future of our practicing units. And therefore, today's topic and today's session is very, very important. We have various, the experts who will be guiding you throughout this entire process, how you can set up or build up or scale up your practices as far as tax, audit, and advisory services is concerned. So my compliments to Sanjeev Bhai, Prasanna ji, that you are actually reaching out to the members and understanding their, the pain points or the scope for improvement. Friends, if you have seen, the council also have taken, recently 2 important decisions allowing the networkings on a very, very large scale, because when we used to talk about that there should be consolidation of the firms, smaller firms, which should come together. And, the first step was about networking, but there were certain issues in networking. The council tried to, overcome some of the bottlenecks. I am quite sure this, it will help you. to grow further. Second, another important initiative, which was, again, thanks to all my council colleagues for supporting that initiative, that ICAI, with the help of now government, is allowing MDP, a multidisciplinary partnership. So year on year, there is something which is always we are trying to do for the young members. So friends, when you are a young member and if you are wanting to start your practice, many times you have the issue, अरे यार प्रैक्टिस करे नहीं करे, फ्यूचर क्या है, इसे मैं जॉब में जाऊं या नहीं जाऊं. Let me tell you, we got more than 135 crore population in India, and how many chartered accountants? Just 350,000 kind of thing. More than 50% are into members in industry. So there are, for the entire country, such a big country, when our government is also trying and speaking about 5 trillion economy and kind of those things, there is a lot of scope for the chartered accountants. But what is important, that you keep the future in mind, build up and scale up accordingly. Otherwise, what will happen if you get stuck into all your routine kind of thing? You will not find the path, and after a few years, you will find a lot of pressure as far as the economics of the practice is concerned. So therefore, my sincere request to all the young members, please try and understand what are the things which are needed for scaling up your practices. What are the new skill sets? What are the new kind of technology? Prasanna ji just mentioned about, ICAI taking lead into providing those audit tools and all those things. I think this was the collective brainchild of the entire council, and especially this particular committee, which came out with the novel idea that there is a need for, helping our members in terms of acquiring technology. Otherwise, what will happen? The entire world is moving fast towards technology. And my, friends who are into, especially into tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities kind of thing, they don't have access to technology. And therefore, friends, at the ICAI level, as I was mentioning again and again, that we are trying and putting our best. What is important for you, apart from, how you scale up into a knowledge front of thing, you should also look into what is happening outside. Because now, because of technology, entire world has become one. I know many chartered accountants who are providing services to the foreign, clients, etc. Because now it is everything work from home kind of environment. So take those kind of initiations. Please visit the IFAC and other international bodies also, their websites. You will find lot of material how to scale up. One important thing, we keep, attending the ICAI program, not for completing your CPE, but actually getting that particular knowledge. Even if one seminar you get one tip, I think that it could be a life-changing tip. And therefore, it is very, very important. Friends, ICAI is nothing, but it is your and my organization. Together, we have to build, together, we have to scale up so many things. And it is only, your and my collective efforts, this profession, which is, flying high for last more than now 72 years. Definitely, you as a brand ambassador, I'm quite hopeful. All these young members, they got a lot of potential. They got a lot of exposure to the, the technology. They got a lot of exposure to the communication skills, which were lacking probably when we started our own practices and all those things. So you got that entire raw material with you, good knowledge, good technological background, good communication skill. Just add little bit of, the tips which the experts over a period of time is going to give it to you. And definitely I see a lot of potential coming to you. Friends, as I was mentioning, last 3 years has been really happening, and compliments to all my, new CCMs who have joined the ICAI as a council members, Sanju Bhai, Prasanna ji, and so many others. Also, they are contributing a lot. Very soon in the month of December, this is my personal request, as I will be completing my tenure in the month of February 22, because this is, I am already the president and completing my 9 years service to the profession as a central council member. In the month of December, friends, we are going to have our general elections. My sincere request to all of you, please do participate. Many times it is very easy that what ICAI is doing, they're not doing, but you don't participate, you don't go and vote also. So I take this advantage of attending and talking to all of you. Being now the senior person, being a past president, I can always look forward, request especially all the young members, please do participate. This is a fantastic opportunity. Even if you want to contest election, right from the central council level, regional council level, even at the branch level, you can actually come forward, contribute. And this is how, for last 72 years, profession has been, helping and each other, and also keeping the flag of the ICAI at very high level, including the at government level and all those things. Before I sign off, Sanju bhai just mentioned about the World Congress of Accountants. Friends, it is for the first time India is going to host this particular World Congress of Accountants in the month of November 2022. This is going to be a very big global event. Many people are writing on the WhatsApp, social media, etc. What is this and all those things. Please have faith in all of us. Whatever we will do, it is for the profession. Whatever the scale of that particular operation will be there. It is for the benefit of each and everybody of the profession. Very soon you will be, we will be communicating to you also, and please do participate into that, because it is the vision that changes. Because unless you have vision, you cannot see the future. Unless you see the future, you will not be able to build up. So once again, I am thankful to Dr. C.S. Sanjeev Singhal and Prasannaji, both the chairman and the vice chairman of the committee, for doing excellent work, and not only for the young members, but for the entire profession, and especially for the members in practice. So my lot of compliments to both my dear friends, Sanju bhai and Prasannaji. And not only, as I said, for 1 year, but last 3 years, I had been witnessing your thing, because somewhere has to certify. So now being a past president, I can actually certify their work also. They have been, lot of contribution, and, many times sacrificing your personal time also. Friends, today we have so many distinguished speakers. Even they are sacrificing their time, professional time. They are also prepared. For you, it is just 2-hour seminar or webinar attending. But these people must have been preparing for last 20 days. What is the new thing that I will give it to my, profession? So similarly, all the CCMs, RCMs, branch members, all these our distinguished speakers, they also contribute a lot. So together again, once again, very happy learning to all of you. Very soon we will be having our Independence Day. So in advance, I wish you also a very happy Independence Day, because now this is going to be a 75th year of our celebration as far as India is considered. So a lot of things that are going to happen, and trust me, the Sanjeev bhai, Prasannaji's team combination is really, really good. They will be helping you with many things, including the audit tools in times to come. So once again, Sanjeev bhai, thank you so much for leading from the front, and ably assisted or supported, or maybe many times he is the leader, but your name is as a leader. So Prasannaji is also equal, because I had seen both of them. I had actually visited the Visakhapatnam also. I had visited many places with Sanjeev bhai also. The kind of attachment they have with the profession at the ground level is really amazing. I wish both of them and the entire committee best of luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you, sir. Friends, with this, now we move to the panel discussion. And we have 5 young guns of our profession today, starting with CA Pitam Goel. Let me introduce all five of them together, and then we'll have a panel discussion. I'm also conscious of the fact that one of the panelists has a flight to take. So, I'll try to ask maximum number of questions before your flight, Navia. Starting with Pitam. Pitam is apart from being a chartered accountant, is a registered valuer under the with the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India. He holds a diploma in DISA, Forensic, and Ind AS. He has over 10 years of professional experience in the field of indirect tax and valuation, and he was earlier associated with a leading power generation company, Renew Power and Lenco Infratech. He has held merit position in the CA examination in all these stages. Really a wonderful feat with them. He specializes in structuring business operations, GST advisory, GST department audit, and advisory support in the field of indirect taxes. He's been deeply involved with various industries ranging from real estate, BPO, manufacturing, EPC, hospitality, etc., for ensuring proper indirect tax related compliances and tax related structuring. He has many research papers and articles in reputed national and international journals to his credits. He has been active speaker at various national and international seminar, workshop, and conferences. In fact, all the 5 speakers today, I know them personally, and they really excel in their field. Thanks, Pitam, for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Let me now introduce Vish Dhingra. Vish is a partner with Ernst & Young. He has more than 20 years of experience in finance consulting, process improvement, and risk advisory. He has worked across India, US, UK, and Germany, and advised clients globally across America, Europe, India, and the Asia Pac. In his current role, he helps the global clients and their captive centers enhance their finance function effectiveness. He's also the global leader of the Accounting Advisory Center of Excellence of the firm. He is an alumni of my college, Shriram College of Commerce, and is a member of the institute since 1998. He's very passionate about developing the potential of India's youth and enhancing India's competitive and value proposition globally. Thanks, Vish, for taking out time. My next panelist is CA Navia Malutra. He's an associate member of the ICAI, maybe perhaps the youngest among the panelists. He became a member in January 2016. He's a graduate from Delhi University, and a post-qualification course. He has also completed his diploma in information system audit from ICAI and completed his master's in commerce this year. He successfully cleared the GST certificate held by, which is conducted by the ICAI. He is a regular speaker at various forums of the ICAI, the Cost Accounting Institute, and is a faculty with the various other forums as well. He has delivered hundreds of lectures. If I'm not wrong, maybe more than 500 of the lectures. His most prestigious deliberation, according to him, includes session to the senior IAS officials and ministry officials at the Indian Institute of Public Administration Training and Research. He's known for his analytical and lucid approach of deliberations, practical illustrations, and case study-based ideology. And he's a regular writer as well. He has published recently one of his books on the GST. So thanks, Navya, for taking out time. Then we have CA Pankaj Gupta. Pankaj is a commerce graduate from Delhi University and, of course, a chartered accountant. And he has been the topper of his school in 12th standard. He has achieved All India 7th rank and 1st rank in the Northern region in November 2002. And he has also completed DISA and DIRM from ICAI. He has also done bachelor's in law. He's gained knowledge of business of trade finance by completing certification course in trade finance organized by Indian Institute of Banking and Finance. He's also completed certification in forensic accounting and fraud detection from ICAI. He's also associated with various social and welfare organizations contributing towards society for the noble cause. He is a faculty member of the Committee in Public Finance and Government Accounting of ICAI, of which I was the chairman in the first year. He has also given training and lectures on accounting, taxation, auditing, and GST. He has also organized a GST Sahitya Sabha for benefit of members of trade and industry. He's been a co-opted member of the Board of Studies of ICAI and working with the ICAI for the improvement in the theoretical education and practical training of students pursuing CA. He's also, and he is member of our regional council for the period 2019 to 2022. And currently, he's a secretary for the current year. He's been a treasurer last year and again secretary in the first year of his term. And he's also the chairman of the Continuing Professional Education Committee and Internal Audit Committee of the Northern region of ICAI. And so thank you so much, Pankaj Bhai, for joining. And then we have CA Hemant Gupta. Again, I know Hemant personally from last many years. He's a fellow member of ICAI and doing his practice. He's a graduate from Deen Dayal Upadhyay College, and he became member in 2002, member of the ICAI. He's also an alumnus of the Law Center, Delhi University, and completed his LLB in 2019. He's also done a certificate course in information system audit and certificate course on the concurrent audit of banks from ICAI. He started his post-qualification career as a practicing chartered accountant. And basically, he is now a senior partner in Messrs. Rao and MR Chartered Accountant, which is a 43-year-old firm. He is also a qualified insolvency professional, which he acquired this qualification in 2018 and has handled many insolvency cases. So thank you, Hemant, for joining. we have 5 young guns, but while I was looking at the profile, they've achieved a lot. They've really achieved a lot. So this really feels great. Let me take a minute each with each of the participants because they have achieved so much, and this program is on young members mentorship summit, as we are calling it. And let us give them maybe a minute each to describe maybe 2-3 most important juncture of their journey post once they become the member of the ICAI. And let me now start in the reverse order, in the order in which I gave the introduction. Let me start with Hemant. So Hemant, first of all, I welcome you to this program. This is being viewed by more than 1,500 members live across India. So can you just describe 2-3 important milestones in your life, professional life, after you become chartered accountant?
Yeah, definitely. See, since you are asking me after becoming chartered accountant, first and the foremost milestone was becoming a chartered accountant itself. That opened a lot of opportunities for me. So then I started my practice as an individual sole practitioners. Then down the line, as I understood the power of partnership and getting into partnership, so I had a knack of getting into partnership. I joined my hands locally with my partners here in Delhi. Then we went on to join another partnership, which is my current partnership for Raw and MR. So I also take very proud pride in being a partner of such a old organization, and because of being partner with them, it really opened a lot of door for us in terms of broadening my vision and in terms of definitely getting a lot of quality professional work. So that I also consider a very important milestone in my life. Then I always had a very penchant for becoming a lawyer. So later on in my career, in 2016, I pursued for LLB qualification, and thankfully in the very first attempt I got into a merit list with Delhi University. So doing a regular LLB with my CA practice, so that I also consider a very great achievement, because let me tell you one thing: had I been in job, so I would never have had been able to join this LLB, regular LLB from Delhi University. So being in practice gave me a lot of flexibility, a lot of luxury to pursue the education of my choice and really pursue my dreams.
Thank you, Hemant. Moving on to you, Pankaj, would you like to briefly just describe your journey after becoming chartered accountant?
Thank you, Sanjeev sir. Thanks for inviting. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this, let's say, a very good program for the young chartered accountants, where we need to share our experience for the benefit of the members in practice. But I'm very thankful to your committee and you also for inviting me. And along with me, there are other co-speakers, people, panelists who are very knowledgeable, and I'm very thankful to them that we are all joined over here. So, sir, my journey, sir, I belong to a very small family, and there is no chartered accountant as of now still in our family. So it was a dream for my father. Actually, we were paying certain 500 rupees at that time in 2002 for just signing the balance sheet from a chartered accountant. So my father used to say that chartered accountant gets the money only for signing. So he has a dream that you become the chartered accountant at whatever cost. So sir, I tried my level best. I will just share one more thing over here, that in the very first attempt, I could not clear the CA. But in the second attempt, I was lucky to have the rank in the CA final examination. So at that point, the dream of my father came true, and I became a chartered accountant. So after getting a rank, the expectations of the family and other persons in the market increases a lot on you, that you have got the rank and you will get some good opportunity in the market, so that you will take well-being of your family. But sir, since start, I have some interest in the practice. In initial stages, I have done some small job in the CA firm, but at the end of the day, I was having the interest in the practice and more towards in the banking sector. So I started my journey by working into a CA firm, and then after that, I worked in one of the multinational banks. And during the practice also, most of the time, I am into the banking industry. And then since last 18 years, my profile is mainly towards in the audit, and that covers banking as well as the other manufacturing entities. So this is a brief about me, sir, in terms of my journey for 18 years.
Thank you very much, Pankaj Bhai. Moving on to you, Navya.
First of all, very good evening to all of you. Sanjeev sir, the chairman of the committee, and Praful sir for his inspiring words. My co-speakers, panelists, all. It is my, I would say, a blessing to be a part of such a great initiative by this committee under the leadership of Sanjeev sir. When I talk about just about my journey, it is same as Pankaj ji. I never had any chartered accountant in my family. I belong to a very middle class family, and personally, what I believe, when young members who are listening today, most of the chartered accountants belong to and it becomes a dream come true. But when I became chartered accountant, the most uh, particular decision was when to enter into the profession as an employment or into practice. That causes the most of the worries today. And personally, many of us wants to be an entrepreneur and in a practice. But yes, decisions are certainly tough. And when I started my journey, and I started journey through employment, turned into practice. Earlier, I was with KPMG and Ernst & Young. Then I switched to the practice, and I'm having my own practice now. But particularly when I entered in practice, Sanjeev sir, we all have to agree on this. Today is the era of specialization. I took GST as a specialization field. And when I talk about specialization, people look upon you only for a specific field, and they recognize some things as synonyms. That when you recognize as GST, let's consult him, X, Y, Z, any person. They consult a group of persons, not all chartered accountants. And people nowadays are accepting this fact. With this, I submit to the further proceedings to Sanjeev sir. And one thing before I actually hand over, I would like to say to the all young members, the profession has a lot of glory, respect, responsibility, but yes, we have to be loyal to our profession. With this, I hand over to Sanjeev sir.
Great, Navya. And moving on to you, Vish.
Thank you, Sanjeev. It's a pleasure to be here as a part of this forum. I'm addressing the young members of our community, but I can't remember when I was young, so it was very, very long back. And Sanjeev, you are one of the youngest ones amongst all of us, right? With your energy and enthusiasm, and all the initiatives that you're taking for the practice and for the profession. So I started my career in '98 after I qualified, and then since then I've held several roles in different organizations. I haven't been in practice. I also did a lot of different types of work as well. I've not been a traditional accounting or a tax professional. I've done a lot of consulting work. I've been very close to the finance agenda overall, and helped organizations in their finance improvement initiatives. I've worked with clients across the world. I've lived in the UK, US, Germany, and other parts of Europe as well, and served the clients there also. I think for me, one of the big or a few big milestones have been the diverse roles that I've taken on, and some of the global roles that I've been a part of. In my current role, I lead the Global Center of Excellence for the firm in the accounting and finance technology practice. So those are some of the things that I've done, and I'm very passionate about the potential for the youth in India. I want to work. I actually already work a lot with the young professionals, whether they're a part of the CA profession or otherwise. And I mentor a lot of people as well. I think that's for me as a purpose, if you ask me, that is the bigger milestone, or that's a bigger achievement than anything else that I do.
Yeah. So thanks, Vish, for sharing your journey. Moving on to you, Preetham. I see you smiling throughout. Preetham, would you like to share a few things with our members?
First of all, sir, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to considering me as one of the panelists with regard to this young member mentorship summit, sir. When I talk about my CA journey, I started with a job in industry through a campus placement in the year 2011, and I joined the company next day after the India lifted the Cricket World Cup. I got a good package, but that was not a parameter in the beginning for sure. I learned about project financing in my first job. That was Lanco Infratech. Then I moved to another role in another infra company, that is Renew Power, and I learned structured funding. After about 3 years, I started my own practice, which I always wanted to be part of. I always think that the main motivation as a young chartered accountant comes from the vision which we have. It is not such that a person can be successful either in a practice or in the job. Everyone has a different skill sets and different parameters to live life. From initial days, I always wanted to be in practice, but I gave a sincere thought to be in job for 3.5 to 4 years so as to adopt the corporate culture. When I talk about CA practice, initially, one is not in a position to say no to any work and has to do whatever comes to the table. I did a range of work from company incorporation to taxation, but I soon realized that quite early in my CA practice that one has to choose the specialization. It is an era of specialization. As a professional, being a jack of all trades might not work. Specialization is the key word in the current era. I choose valuation, and then came GST. I read extensively, worked with the best of minds, partnered with the right people, and above all, I was patient. When you work hard with on something, I believe universe delivers upon the same. Things begins to happen, and here I am.
That's great, Preetham. And in fact, this was really nice to know the journey of all the five young members of our profession. And Navya, keeping your time constraint in mind, let me ask first two questions to you. People say that now GST audit is not there. So there's a significant degrowth in GST audit. You live GST every day, right? So do you think GST is having new avenues of growth and there is sufficient scope for members to practice in GST?
It's a wonderful question which I come across daily when I meet some members, young bloods. And sometime back, Sanjeev sir, I wrote somewhere on a social network that GST is in my blood. So people started writing comments that can we donate that blood or can we get the blood? So particularly what you said that GST is what I'm living. GST is what have made me today what I am. And particularly looking at the future of GST, when 1st of February this year, I was traveling. 2nd of February, I had a session on budget in person and some branch. People were very shocked to hear something that GST audit is gone or it is on now self-certification basis. People, particularly the young brigade of our profession, was disheartened to an extent that many of us entered into the practice, keeping in mind this audit as a tool for our growing practice. However, when this audit came into self-certification, yes, there was a dent to the work of GST, but I particularly feel, Sanjeev sir, we all have much more in GST than this GST audit. We have converted this GST audit into a health check or diagnostic study assignments. And trust me, assessees are in favor to have an independent activity, even the government, if have made it self-certification basis. Sanjeev sir, one thing I would like to say to all the young members today. Can we all believe one thing, that there is a difference between a word called frozen and chilled? Sir, frozen and chilled have a different meaning. This is what the advisory in GST can have a beautiful future. When I say frozen, it has a different HSN. Chilled, it has a different HSN and particularly different rate of taxes. When I say HSN advisory, many of our leading firms just charge to tell you what is a good or appropriate HSN for your product. So this is what I say. we have advisory, consultancy, and I personally believe when this is now on self-certification basis, it is much more the need of the profession now to have an independent activity in a very clear, with no framework in our hand, and a beautiful art of doing the GST audit in another form called diagnostic studies.
That's great, Navya. Navya, let me ask you one more follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
What are the key areas of growth in practice, or the upcoming avenues which you might have find because you interact with so many people outside GST also? I mean, I know GST is in your blood, but outside GST also, would you like to say something?
See, sir, today when I believe the pandemic came, we learned one very beautiful art, that we do not need to invest good, handsome amounts in infrastructure. Rather, we need to invest in technology. Sir, if we have good amount spent on technology, we can have good practice in the near future. When I talk about avenues, we have beautiful avenues for young professionals coming on the way about litigations practice, sir. Once we are looking forward the appellate tribunal constitution in GST also. When I talk about GST, when I talk about other frames, the faceless assessment made a beautiful way to the young professionals. I know somewhere the face value has a big aspect in these assessments, but this gives a way to the new professionals, giving their drafting skills a new way and a pathway to the profession. Thirdly, to add to this, if you have synchronization, I believe synchronization, synergization, both need to be adapted today to have a beautiful practice. Having synergization, when I want to say, people, assessee wants to look everything under one roof, but with good specialists. So have under one roof different people synergized together, having different specialized domains, so that you can cater to any assessee anytime with any domain, and he can look upon your firm onto this. As we also look that you as the central council members, sir, have taken a decision of multidisciplinary practice. This is a beautiful initiative which can lead to young professionals getting synergized with other different disciplinary practices like lawyers, or I can say engineers, chartered engineers, any of the other professionals. They can come along, align with them, and have a avenues generated. And the fourth practice, which I believe has a beautiful aspect, is all about, sir, it's not only professional practice, it is all about consulting. Sir, we have assurance function now going away to an extent, but the advisory and consulting picking up the way. What, Sanjeev sir, I would like to ask all the young members today to have a beautiful practice. Sir, we always should look upon, like we all go to a marriage function. A marriage function, when we all enter, sir, when the dinner opens up, we all go to have a dinner plate. We all come around the dinner plate and pick up the dinner plates. But there are very few who go to the dessert first. Be that professional. Don't look to the place where the supply demand concept you have to match. You should be in a restricted supply. The demand should be huge. Go to the dessert first, because nobody is looking at the dessert. We have to search that avenue first. This is what I want to say, Sanjeev sir.
Thank you, Navya. I really liked your analogy. Good. Moving on to you, Vish. In today's business environment, what are the evolving opportunities for the young chartered accountants?
Yeah, Sanjeev, as I think all the panelists have been saying, and Prafulji also mentioned at the start, I think the profession is evolving quite significantly. Technology has a significant impact on our profession. Tools and technology will play a very important role in defining how we work and what we do for our clients and for our stakeholders. We are a profession of trust. So I think that becomes very important that we maintain our DNA. And as Navya just mentioned, I think there are other several avenues which are opening up apart from the traditional accounting, auditing, and tax. There's a lot of focus on consulting, a lot of focus on transactions, There's a lot of IPOs happening in the market. There's a lot of focus on what can we do in terms of just helping the client with their overall accounting and reporting framework. There's a lot of focus on climate change. So that's another sustainability reporting is becoming an important piece, which is gaining some momentum. I think that's all in the current market, in the India market. So if you look at the dessert analogy, which Navia talked about, and I think Prafulji mentioned at the start, we also need to start thinking about what's outside, what is happening outside of India, and start to tap into some of the non-traditional markets as well, and see how we can generate some business through some of the global networks as well. I think I would say that if we adapt and if we align ourselves to the technology agenda, change the way we work, and also look at what are the things that we can advise the clients on in terms of the technology agenda and in terms of their processes or in terms of their overall finance function or overall business operations. I think those are some of the areas which are gaining momentum today in the market. To a large extent, this is my personal view, to a large extent, auditing and tax will be impacted significantly by technology. And that's why I think we need to start finding avenues to look at our niche and how do we use that knowledge in some of the broader advisory consulting type of areas as well. Or areas, for example, things like managed service, where we take over the work that the client does and we start to operate it for them, whether it's the accounting function or it is the tax function, or it is any of the other routine business as usual processes, which we can take over and start to perform. This will require a lot of scale. This will require a lot of investment in technology, and which is where different firms, smaller size firms, come together and look at how do they scale this overall offering. Sanjeev, is that a good? It's a good steer into that direction. If you want, I can elaborate further.
This is fine. This is fine. Then we'll come back to you.
Right.
Pankaj, are you there on the screen? Okay. So while Pankaj joins back, let me ask Hemant. Hemant, once you qualify the insolvency exam and decide to be a practicing professional, what kind of team and infrastructure is required to start the practice?
See, insolvency, if you look at insolvency, people usually think that appointment is being made of a single individual, not of a partnership firm, or for that matter, IPE. It's a one-man job. So, but having done few cases of insolvency and being involved in few others, I've realized that insolvency is a team game, and you need a lot of guys in your team, and they need not be insolvency professional at all. You need insolvency professionals, or for that matter, chartered accountants, but still, you need some good, let's say, advertising agencies. The order comes and you are supposed to publish your order within 3 days. You need a reliable advertising guy who is going to publish your public announcement within 3 days, or for that matter, let's say within 2 days. You need a good set of lawyers who are going to represent you, perhaps the corporate debtor, or maybe in case of some litigation is being brought against you. So you need a legal team to consult, to represent you. So probably as a chartered accountant, when I started out insolvency, I was not having these kind of people in my, let's say, even in my network. So that was a struggle for me, and that was a great learning curve for me, how to build up a team and how to have that kind of infrastructure ready. You need further, you would need a security agency, some tie-up with security agency. Let us say a case comes today, and these are the premises of that corporate debtor, and you are going to take the possession of that particular asset or particular factory. So you yourself are not going to sit there, or you are not going to send your office people sit there and take the possession. So you need actual professional security guys who are capable of handling any security threat or any kind of other misadventure by corporate debtors. So you need a good, reliable security agency. Going further in the process, you would be requiring a lot of technical assistance. So for that matter, let us take the example of virtual data room. So you need an infrastructure, you need a reliable agency, reliable partner who can provide you or equip you with virtual data room. Especially in the time of pandemic, you need you need an agency who would be very much equipped to handle e-voting proceeding. So physical meetings are not happening. You need a reliable guy who can set up a e-voting system and communicate with each and every stakeholder, like this is the system and this is how we are supposed to vote. Lastly, but not the least, you need a physical infrastructure as well, because there are times you need to take possession of the some key assets. So for that, you need to keep them perhaps at some other location. You cannot keep them at corporate debtors location. Let us take a very example of some luxury cars. It happened in our one-off case. There was a luxury car with the corporate debtor, and that had to be kept at some other place. So you need to take possession and you need to move quickly. Otherwise, the corporate debtor might siphon off or take away those assets. So these are the things you require. And lastly, you need to invest in your team. Usually what happens, people think if we start investing in our team in terms of adding more and more people as our partner or close associate, we might end up losing some good amount of money. But what I have realized, when you add people with you, your peers, as your peer, as your partner, as your close associate, you might be earning less, but believe you me, it will be worth it. So ultimately you will be earning much more in comparison to what you would have done as a single person. So I think if you all look at these parameters and these infrastructure setups or these things, so I think insolvency practice can start to take off.
Right, Eamon. Thanks. These were really very valuable input, and in fact, the kind of diversification which you are mentioning, that means that more and more firms can also be associated with you. So once you're doing an insolvency practice, so there could be many chartered accountant firm who may be associated with an insolvency firm, which is good to know. Pankaj, moving on to you, what's your perspective on how has COVID-19 impacted the way of doing the CA practice?
Thank you. Sir, in terms of COVID-19, I think that COVID-19 has affected each and every member of the society. The daily earner or a big corporate or some industrialist or any other person, COVID-19 has affected us a lot. Sir, just a minute. Excuse me, sir. We'll come back to you, sir. Just a minute.
Yeah. So while Pankaj joins back, moving on to you, Hitam, as a chartered accountant, when can one provide the valuation services? Some people feel chartered accountant cannot provide valuation services. Once you qualify valuation exam and decide to be a practicing professional, then what kind of team and infrastructure is required to start this practice? Hemant mentioned for insolvency. And Pankaj, I'll come back to you after Peter has
Sorry, sir,
responded.
there was some noise at the back.
No, I understand. So after Peter has finished response, then I'll come back to you. So Peter, similar to what I asked Hemant on the valuation practice, what's your view?
So when I talk about valuation, sir, as my co-panelist Navia mentioned, that this is one of the deserts. So when I talk about valuations, so there are various statutes that requires business to get a valuation done. As a professional, one need not be a registered valuer to provide the valuation services. There are, however, certain laws that mandates only a registered valuer to provide the valuation services. For instance, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India has a list of RVOs, ICAI is one of them, and only valuers registered with them, one of the enlisted RVOs, can provide the valuation services under IBBI. Similarly, when we talk about the Companies Act, only a IBBI registered valuer can provide the valuation services. When we talk with regard to other acts, for example, Income Tax Act, RBI, FEMA, the other statutes, pretty much any chartered accountant with the knowledge of the domain can provide the valuation services for sure. In terms of infrastructure and team, it is a specialized service, and a small team of also 4 to 5 dedicated members is enough to deliver multiple assignments. So there is no specific infrastructure requirements other than what is usually required, such as laptops, office, apart from that. When we talk about the intellectual part, the most important part, one need to have the subscription to the various valuation platforms such as Bloomberg, Royalty Stats, Merger Stats, Progress, any sort of these softwares, so that as a valuer, I am able to do a comparative analysis. And this is much like an international taxation, where I am benchmarking a transaction. So as a valuer, I need to benchmark my interest rate. I need to benchmark my market multiples, EBITDA, EBIT margins, PAT. So as a person, as a professional, only I need to have an access to these subscripted softwares for the purpose of providing my valuation services.
Right. That's great. So, one can start a valuation practice also with 4 or 5 people. Pankaj, coming back to you. Would you like to complete your answer now?
So, sir, in terms of COVID, I was saying that the COVID-19 has affected even single person of the society, whether the person is a daily earner, a big corporate, a small corporate, or in fact a practicing chartered accountant, or a person in the job. So the COVID-19, it has impacted on this lot of ways that we have changed the style we do our practice. Earlier, we were very happy that we have number of clients, and that clients include big corporates, have small firms, small partnership firms, individuals doing turnover in crores of rupees. But after this COVID, the complete change is there in terms we do our practice. Earlier, we used to rely maybe on some big corporates who were giving us a good business, but as of now, we cannot rely that after this, we cannot rely only on a single corporate. We have to diversify our practice, and in terms of diversification, we should look not only for the big corporates, but the small firms, small individuals also. We cannot rely on only a single client or few clients we are giving us good business. In terms of COVID-19 impact, has changed our mindset also. Earlier, we used to see that we should have a big office, we should have good manpower in the office, doing the work at the office. But after this COVID, in terms of saving, like big companies are saving cost on in terms of rental and other infrastructure cost, we have also thought of thinking that we can do some work by sitting at home and by working home. And in the office, we do not require much of the infrastructure. So I understand COVID-19, in some of the way, it is not good for us. It has affected badly to us. But at the other side, it has given us an opportunity to think beyond the black box. हमने सर कहीं सोचा, we have thought beyond the black box, and now we have economized our resources and using the small resources in a very good manner. So I understand like COVID-19 has impacted us a lot. And one more thing, as Navia has given the example of the desert, like we should look for the desert. In terms of COVID-19, sir, our practice has impacted. And now onwards, the person who is specialized into a particular field will have some more fruits in his basket. For example, there is a doctor. Like MBBS doctor is not getting that much of fees, which MD who is specialist into a particular field is getting. So as Navya is expert in GST, Pitam is in valuation and all. And so in terms of COVID and after COVID, we have to be specialized into certain field where we can look into the market and provide specialized services. Apart from that, difficult for us to practice on an individual basis. The client needs under one roof all the services. So to young chartered accountants who are into practice, who are deciding to coming into practice, they should network themselves with other big persons or some other their friends or colleagues in the market so that they can provide good services under one roof to all the clients. So this only in terms of COVID-19, sir. Back to you, sir. Sanjeev, sir.
Great, Pankaj. And I always believe that diversification is required. In fact, our institute also puts a cap. Earlier, the cap was 40% of the fee from one client. And then in the new code of ethics, also this clause of 15% was there. But for the time being, we have deferred. And there's an old saying, don't keep all your eggs in one basket. So certainly, dependence or over reliance on one or two customers is never advisable. Thank you, Pankaj. Navia, keeping in mind your time constraint, what will be your advice to the young chartered accountant who are passing out? Should they go to practice? Should they go to industry? If in practice, a solo practice or a partnership? Specialization, of course, you have mentioned. What will be your advice to young chartered accountants?
So looking into the scenario today, when we don't have predictability of future, when we have seen the pandemic, we have to make certain decisions very precisely now. When a young chartered accountant qualifies, the biggest decision of his life is heart says practice, mind says job, peer says something else. So ultimately, the combination and balance between the heart and soul, the brain, and the peer pressure, looking into the family pressures, because when I say chartered accountant qualifies, he have a whole lot of pressures and stress on him, family pressures, and many commitments he has in his hopes. Today, we need to understand, if you have to enter into practice, first of all, you have to identify firstly your core area which you want to pursue. When we qualify, sir, we do not have any picture in mind what will be my core interest of practice. Give yourself an ample time to get specialization first, then decide. Give yourself at least an year to decide what will be the best for you. Because many a times, let's say, Sanjeev sir, I did my articleship in statutory audit. My first decision was I will never do statutory audit, because articleship never goes satisfactory for any one of us. So it is like that. So I will ultimately fall on to another place. So first, decide your core practice in area if you want to enter into practice. Secondly, after an year, you make a specialization, or your decisiveness is you have decided what you want to pursue now. Enter into that field and decide how you will pursue it. Like suppose GST, I cannot say in 2 months you will specialize in GST. It can take many years to come into GST. Firstly, then enter into the practice with, as Pankaj ji said, networking. Sir, now is the time we have to have a networking and licensing all across the nation at one front. Zoom and any other social platforms are the best way to interact and get a licensing done. And fourthly, when you have these networking and specialization done, hit the right moment and enter into practice. In conclusion, what I want to say, never make an abrupt decision opening a practice right away. First, decide how will you work. As Pitamji also said, at his point of entering into practice, we can't decide what work we will do and what work we will not do. The filtration process continues, and I believe Pitam will acknowledge the fact. The filtration process that he would have done and is still continuing. आज भी वो filter करते करते clients कभी-कभी he will be taking away, or he will be eliminating the clients from his list of working. So the filtration continues. That is the part of our profession. But yes, your journey has to continue. Don't make the abrupt decision of entering into practice right away. Get the core field done and then enter into the practice. So now what people are deciding, Sanjeev sir, do employment for certain years or some years in the beginning, decide your practicing area, enter into the practice. But yes, if you enter into the practice right away, that can also be done, but that has to be a very, very big decision. Sir. Handing over to you, Sanjeev.
Thank you, Navya. And in case you have to leave at any point of time, please feel free to do so, and wish you a good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right. Moving on to you, Vish. Some questions which the young members, and particularly when I travel to the smaller towns and smaller branches, or those people who shift from job or to practice, like you work in a shared service environment where there are a very, very large number of employees. Is it possible that if someone moves out from employment in shared service center, can they start a shared service center on a smaller scale and in smaller towns? And do you see a great future for the same?
That's a very good question, Sanjeev. I think this is, and it is pertinent in today's world. with COVID, one of the things that has happened is there are no physical boundaries these days. It's all everything is done in a virtual manner. Uh, the whole importance of technology platform and the exchange of data electronically, that has made everything possible. You could be sitting anywhere in the world and servicing any client. So uh, the short answer to your question, Sanjeev, is it is possible. It is definitely something that can be done. Um, as I was mentioning earlier, the if you look at managed service as a concept, where we identify certain processes or certain business as usual activities that the client does, whether it is in the field of uh, accounting or transaction processing or let's say risk areas or treasury or cash management, order to cash, purchase to pay, any of those areas, we identify those and we take it over from the client, and we would as a practitioner, we would have a team that can execute it for the client. The client can outsource some of that to a third party. Now, all of that is possible. The most important thing that has to be considered as a part of that is the size and the scale. How do we bring that size? How do we bring that scale? How do we bring a platform which can ingest the data from the client, which can secure the data, protect the data, and also then be able to seamlessly communicate with the client's IT system. So I think all of that is possible depending on the size and scale of the client, depending on the size of your practice, uh, and the problem statement of the client, and what the cost pressure is in terms of the cost improvement ideas. I think a lot of those things can be done. For example, a lot of things that the clients do are seasonal in nature, and you will have you may not, if you carve something out and you bring four or three or different clients, um, to 3 or 4 different clients to work together on that, I think you can optimize your team in a way that you can utilize them better, instead of a person working that for only one client in-house in their own internal functions. Um, Also, I think the quality that we can provide as practitioners is going to be much higher. That's our value proposition. Um, so, and I think we bring the subject matter expertise in all of these areas. But again, I think the business outlook, understanding of the business environment, understanding the client problem statement, understanding the technology issues, and investing in your own technology framework, getting the right people in place, getting the right competencies, and having the right training and training infrastructure to make sure that we are able to deal with volume of data, we're able to churn the data quickly, and give it back to the client with highest quality possible, and in a secure data environment. I think those will be the key areas to focus on. But yes, this can definitely be done. But to achieve the scale, I think you'll have to come together as a network of firms, or to expand your practice significantly to be able to handle those volumes.
Great, Vish. And I have received a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Member says that, sir, this is all very good, that we can do it in a smaller scale, in smaller town. How to find the clients who may be looking for getting the work done through the shared service center, whether it is payroll or it is accounting or it is remote audits?
I think in terms of the client and the market that we would tap into, there'll be two things that we look at. One is if you have to offer a cost arbitrage, and you are in a smaller setup or a smaller city where you have a natural wage arbitrage at least, then I think you can target the clients in bigger cities, mid-sized clients, because the larger clients are anyways going to um, the big BPOs or the big shared service centers, or they may have their own setup as well. And I think it is about understanding those clients which are on a digital journey, which do not necessarily have fully evolved as a digital player, who are not necessarily technology enabled in entirety. but those who are on that journey, I think they will be a lot more open to outsourcing some of the work. They'll be a lot more open to experimenting some of these things. The other market to look at, and that's a hit and miss. The other market to look at is the whole startup community. India is full of startups, and I think they need solutions for which are not very expensive. They don't necessarily have a lot of time to focus on finance and reporting and tax and some of the other bookkeeping related areas. They're focused on being in the market, focusing on research and development around their products and how they make their products more marketable and better in terms of its proposition. So they're focused on the core values, core value proposition of their business. For them, everything else is non-core. So I think that could be a sweet spot to go after. But the only problem there is that they don't have deep pockets. They don't pay too much. So you'll have to stay invested a little bit so that once they start to grow and once they pick up, I think that's when you make money.
Great, Vish. I'm sure that this question, our members, would have got the answer. Moving on to you, Pankaj, you have a good deal of experience in the banking sector. There are some people who say that the avenues in banking are shrinking. Bank audits may be a thing of the past. So what are the key avenues for chartered accountants in banking?
So you rightly said that in terms of banking audit being allotted by the Reserve Bank of India, the revenues are shrinking. But at the same time, if we look at the RBI has opened up banking sector and given licenses to lot of payment banks and small banks. Apart from the branch audit that we look for the public sector banks, there are various things, various avenues which we can look as an auditor and provide our service as chartered accountant. Not only some public sector banks, there are various foreign banks which we are not aware, which these banks have only 1 or 2 or 3 branches in India, but provide good value of services to the chartered accountant, provide good value of business to the chartered accountant. I think chartered accountant should also look for the foreign banks, private sector banks, and then approach them in terms of providing services to them. Some of the sectors which I will share with the members over here, like SWIFT audit. Reserve Bank of India has issued guidelines for getting the SWIFT audit of the banks. So we can provide as a SWIFT auditor. We can work as a SWIFT auditor. Apart from SWIFT audit, there are internal accounts in the bank. RBI guidelines specifically requires that bank should get the internal accounts audited and provide a report that there is no misuse of those internal accounts. So these kind of services, as a chartered accountant, we can provide to the banks. Apart from that, sir, in terms of cyber security, IT controls, risk management, credit management, lot of avenues are there in the banking sector. Yes, there is a difficulty in how the again question, how we will get this work. Again, sir, we have to chip it. In credit department, chartered accountant can provide service in terms of verification of the documents, providing credit worthiness, due diligence. In terms of risk management, we can provide services to the management, services to the bank in terms of assessing the various kind of risk. Maybe it is credit risk, market risk, investment risk, etc. So there are a lot of avenues which are available for the chartered accountants in the banking sector. Again, sir, it is difficult for small firms, small individual practitioners to approach the banks and get the work done, because now RBI has come up with a circular in terms of statutory audit that certain minimum qualification, minimum experience is required for the chartered accountants. So in this, I will request the chairman CMP committee to look into that, and there should be some avenues for the young chartered accountants where they can provide services to the banks also.
Absolutely, Pankaj. At the same time, we also need to look at what is the risk mitigation which the banking sector is looking at. See, assurance, which is an attest function, we are expressing an assurance. So very high standards of quality are required, and banking sector has been vulnerable to a number of, huge losses. We have seen huge amount of losses. So obviously the RBI also is trying to protect the system. But yes, as far as the avenues are concerned, let me tell you that as a sustainability Reporting Standard Board Chairman, I'm happy to share with all of the members that I've been a member of the technical group of the Security Exchange Board of India on the social stock exchange. This is a brand new field that you can take your NGO to the IPO market. Wish is known for taking clients to the IPO market, but you can take your NGOs also to the IPO market through the social stock exchange. So this unique platform will be available to the NGOs, and there are 34 lakh NGOs in India. So even if 1% of the NGOs can be taken to the stock exchange, which is called social stock exchange, and with our persuasion, SEBI has also agreed to permit chartered accountant to be the social impact auditors. So apart from the financial audit, you can also do a social impact audit. So one, you will be helping the NGOs to grow. And secondly, you will be earning or you will be building a good practice in this social sector. Apart from this, in the first year, when I was the vice chairman of the Committee on Government and Public Financial Management, so this Panchayati Raj institution is very big in India. 3 lakh crore rupees of grant is being given by the government every year. And there, 10% of the grant is released only when the panchayats get their accounts audited. So 30,000 crore rupees. And many of the panchayats don't get their accounts audited. And the audit fee provision there is 1% of the grant, which means 3,000 crores. Of course, if you compete, you can reduce the fee, but that's what we provided for. Same is with the urban local bodies, which have a budget of 87,000 crores. There, 10% is released when the accounts are audited, and another 10% when the accounts are uploaded on the hosted on the website. And there again, 1% fee provision is there. So another 870 crores. So 3,870 crores. Whereas the bank branch audit and the bank's statutory audit fees is about 950 crores. So it is 4 times the opportunity in addition to the social stock exchange. So I believe that if we keep rendering the highest quality services, whether in assurance or in non-audit, certainly there are very, very large number of avenues for the chartered accountants. So thanks, Pankaj. Moving on to you, Hemant.
As of now, I will just ask. Young members are only aware about the revenue audit, concurrent audit, stock audit. Apart from that, if they will have a cup of tea with the branch manager and spend half an hour with him, he will provide them a lot of opportunity. He will discuss a lot of avenues where we can provide service to them. And in that case, I think there is no regulatory requirement that we should have a minimum number of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. For the advisory services, this is not there. Hemant,
Yes, sir.
Once a member decides to be in the insolvency profession, again, the question which I asked, which the same question our members are asking, how do you get the work? And what are the possible areas of work? I mean, because this field has also become very competitive with 3,800 plus insolvency professionals.
Yes.
So how do you scout for the work?
So, sir, Sanjeev ji, first of all, let me formulate what actually is work involved. Work doesn't mean like you being appointed as an insolvency professional only to some corporate debtor, then only you'll be getting a work. There is a plethora of opportunity available to anybody who is conversant with insolvency law. You see, there is a threshold limit of 10 years in case of a person wants to join an insolvency profession. But even for a person who is of less than 10 years of experience, but he is having some hold in IBC law, he can provide various ancillary services. So I'll tell you what kind of services or what kind of work would be involved. Like in insolvency, any insolvency assignment, you are required to prepare an information memorandum. So that basically contains detail about corporate debtor, assets, liability, cases involved, and various other relevant information which might be useful for some prospective resolution applicant. Even though this is a responsibility of insolvency professionals, this cannot be outsourced. But having said this, if you are associated with some insolvency professional as a team member, you are going to get this kind of assignment or this kind of work involved in that assignment, even if you are not insolvency professional. Secondly, then there is a one document called request for resolution plan, RFRP. So that kind of document can be prepared, detailing the kind of requirement, the kind of process we are going to follow. Then an insolvency professional, if you are an insolvency professional, you can represent operational creditor, financial creditor during insolvency proceeding. So your services can be taken care of by the people who are not able to understand what kind of what are the implication of IBC law. Then as a chartered accountant also, you all know you can represent up to the tribunal level. So for IBC matter, as a chartered accountant, you can go and represent. So let me also make it very clear. Some people might be like, even I'll say it for myself, before I did my LLB, I was very averse to the idea of going to any tribunal. So even I was not able to find, used to find myself competent to go there and represent before honorable judges. But after doing my LLB, I found out like I wanted to go there and represent. But actually what I found out that IBC is predominantly a procedural law. Most of the time, whenever you are representing, there will not be any argument or you will not be required to argue any law. So it's a procedural matter, whether one thing has been done or another has not been done. So even a chartered accountant with less than 10 years of experience can set up a practice for as a pleader in front of tribunals. So that can be taken care of. You can also help in making resolution plan. Evaluation of resolution plan can be done. So all you need to know is all you need to have an understanding of insolvency law. Then transaction audit is there, for which you need not have any specific qualification. Only understanding of insolvency law is required, and that to a very minimal level. All you need to do is a traditional audit you need to do. Then at last, a very commercial thing is there, for which you need not be a chartered accountant, but yes, if you understand IBC law, you can find buyers who are willing to invest in this process. So what will happen in case you find buyer? The buyer might not be knowing all the nitty-gritty of this IBC process. So as a professional, you can make them understand what kind of value they are going to get if they invest in this process or try to invest in some ailing corporate debtor. So and that insolvency professional can always guide him the nitty-gritty of IBC law and the procedural aspects. So these are the work which we can define for which you need not be an insolvency professional. Secondly, coming to your question, sir, sources of work. See, for sources of work, like in case of a chartered accountancy, we have learned like only your work is your best advertisement and you are going to get work from there only. But personally, all of you, I believe, agree that at times it takes a lot of time to like gain that competence and let people come to you based on your word of mouth. So what I've understood, like you are already doing some kind of chartered accountant advocacy or company secretary practice already you are doing. So you have existing client base who might be requiring services of IBC law. So you can make them understand the nitty-gritty of IBC, let them know in case their money is stuck, how they can use IBC to unlock their dead money. You can also network with a lot of lawyers. Lawyers are predominantly busy in pleading and consultancy work. So probably even though they are qualified or they are eligible to act as an insolvency professional, but I find that most of the IPs are chartered accountants. So if you have a good networking with lawyers, so probably they are the one who are going to refer you to their client, because they are the one who are the first step to any client to approach the NCLT. So if you have a networking with them, probably you can get a good amount of work refer from them. Then you can have networking with your fellow IPs. There are a lot of cases where there could be a conflict of interest. So that particular IP might not be willing to take that assignment. So he might refer it to you. NCLT panel is there, which is a very good panel for getting the IP work. I must tell you and must commend the people who are behind this panel. Let me tell you why I want to commend those guys, because in every empanelment, what I used to find, the more you are senior, the more experience you have, the more work you are eligible to get. But in this NCLT panel, they have did it other way around. If you are handling more assignment, then your name is at the bottom of the list. If you are handling no assignment, then your name at the top of the list. So someone who is not getting an assignment is probably going to get some assignment. I can personally tell you, I've got few assignments from NCLT panel by this logic only. Then of course, bank empanelments are there. You can approach banks, not for the purpose of soliciting work, but yes, you can let them know, like you are there in your professional capacity. You can maybe have your own YouTube channel. You can share your thoughts about IBC on that YouTube channel. You can help out your fellow IPs, let them know about your expertise, and volunteer for any IBC causes. So probably initially it might not get you very far, but at least you will be a name to reckon with. And I can tell you from my personal experience, I am, if not very active, but relatively active in participating in few groups. And people have come to me and recognized me like, you are Mr. So-and-so who is active in participation of that group. So it's really a very great satisfactory feeling, even if you are not getting any work at all, then also. So these are the things which will like take you through to the initial days. And once you are set, then work will come automatically, no doubt about it.
Thank you, Hemant. You very passionately, spoke about the insolvency profession, and this is how it should be. Petam, there is a specific question from you from CA Indrapala Rodaji. He wants to know if a partner of a CA firm is a registered valuer, then whether his earning from the profession as valuer will be counted as his personal income or income of the firm.
When we talk about the valuation income, so there are two separate lines. The CA firm, which is registered under ICAI, and as a registered valuer, I am registered under IBBI. So when I talk about valuation income, valuation revenues, this accrue to my account, not the firm account, as this is the services which has been rendered by an individual, by a registered valuer, that is myself. So these two are separate line of services, separate line of accounts, and need to be accounted separately.
Okay, thanks. Moving on to you, Pankaj. In fact, rather this one member has just supported what you said. CS Sudeepa Sen has said that qualified chartered accountant can join the job in banking industry as credit analyst, financial analyst in credit department. All banks every year recruit chartered accountant at good remuneration. He himself is working with Indian Bank as a credit analyst. Yeah, so I agree that in banking there are a large number of job opportunities which are available. Pankaj, do you want to add any perspective to this?
So definitely yes. Like this guy is working with the Indian bank. As of now, sir, in India, we have most of the persons are not aware about the foreign banks in India. I will say there are a lot of foreign banks in India. There are a lot of opportunities. And the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, as a regulator, issues a circular, issues a notification. That notification is applicable to State Bank of India. That notification is applicable on foreign bank, which has only one bank branch in India. So for regulator, there is no difference between State Bank of India, Indian Bank, ICICI Bank, or a bank or foreign bank having one branch in India. So in that one branch, we have a lot of opportunity. So I'm associated with one of the bank. In fact, I'm signing the balance sheet of one of the bank, where there are a lot of opportunities for chartered accountants. Like they are looking for a person for the risk management department. They are looking for internal audit. They are looking for a person in treasury. They are looking for a person in compliance. In each and every field, they are looking for persons who are chartered accountants. So our area is not only restricted to credit, it is very wide area where we can provide our services. Yes, for providing the services into these area, we should specialize ourselves maybe some 30-40% over and above the person who does not have the knowledge of this particular field. So in my opinion, sir, in banking sector, our regulator is coming with a lot of notification circulars imposing on the bank. Like you must have seen this MasterCard, regulator has stopped MasterCard issuing the MasterCards in India. In fact, I have seen in American Express Bank also, the regulator has imposed the restrictions for not issuing the credit cards further on American Express, only because of the one of the circular relating to storage of payment systems in India. There also chartered accountant can provide the service by doing the audit in this field. So for me, sir, I see that a lot of banking venues are there for the chartered accountants.
Great. Question to Vish from Ankit Agarwal. Vish, are you there on the screen? Okay. Yeah,
yes,
Vish, there is a question, and probably it's a follow-up question of your earlier answer. He wants to know how can we get lead of getting the accounting work from outside India? Are there any website? Are there any sources from which they can explore it?
I don't see, these are not open tenders which are floated globally. I think this is more about networks and how do you how do you establish your network with some of the global counterparts? There could be opportunities where you work together with any of the CPA or the CA firms globally, and you become their extension from a delivery perspective. But there aren't any forums where you would go, and not that I'm aware of, specifically where you actually get all of these RFPs which are loaded where you have to respond.
Sure. In fact, for that purpose, this domestic networking has been permitted by the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. There could be firms who have the strength in terms of the resources, or maybe their clients want to do outsourcing, but they may not have that kind of specialization. So if someone can network with them, and ICAI is also working on the overseas networking. So probably once that is allowed, it may be easier to get that kind of a work. There's an open question which I got from CA Vikas Dwivedi, and any of the panelists can answer. He wants that please throw some light on insurance survey and loss assessment for chartered accountant, which is lucrative and interesting field to explore. So I'm not into this practice. So if Pankaj, Hemant, or Peetam, if any of you are into this practice or has an insight, would you like to answer? Yeah. Please go ahead. First Pankaj, and then followed by Pankaj.
But I do not have that much. The question is relating to survey and all in the insurance industry. But I have seen certain chartered accountants who are not into the core practice, but they are doing this insurance business. And believe me, they are earning huge. And in fact, a couple of weeks back, I was sitting in the eye with the Bajaj insurance, and they have put in front of me a proposal. If I come into the insurance thing, a lot of opportunities are there, whether it is in the business of health insurance, it is in the insurance of the assets, any kind of insurance, apart from survey and all. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for the chartered accountants into this insurance business.
Great. Peetam, you wanted to add?
No, sir. I think so. Okay. Pankaj has summed it up.
Okay, fine. So, Peetam, there is another question which we have got for you. Suppose valuation, and if I say that I can put the valuation practice into 3 buckets. Securities or financial asset is 1. Land and building is 2nd. And plant and machinery is 3rd. And if this classification is right, how to integrate into the 3 different classes of valuation and optimize in terms of the practice?
So very, very good question, sir. When I talk about, sir, as a chartered accountant, when I talk about, I am eligible for valuing only the securities or the financial assets. But when I see the balance sheet of any of the clients or any of the organization, there are a lot more things apart from valuing a business in terms of securities. So there may be land and building, there are plant and machineries sitting in the books of accounts. So as a valuer, when we talk about valuation is a composite services wherein I am valuing business, wherein I am valuing the vacant land, wherein I am valuing the plant and machinery. So when I talk about the integration of these 3 separate class of assets, Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India, IBBI, has given us an option to form a valuer entity. So as a chartered accountant, we can always open a valuation entity, and we can always obtain a license with regard to all 3 categories. And friends, when I talk about all these categories, this will help my client. This will help our client or the organizations to get the valuation services done under the same roof. So the main integration here is that the corporate need not go to 3 separate class of valuers, and they are following it up with each of them separately. Once you have a valuation entity wherein you are eligible for giving all types of valuation, that will make our things easier, that will make our clients things easier to form the scenario wherein they are connecting to only one individual at a time. So IBB allows forming such a team, for providing full valuation services. And as far as we are concerned, we are also on the same process. So I would like to advise all my professional colleagues out there, do think about the same for the near future.
Great. Hemant, some people say that insolvency profession is a highly regulated profession. And, only a very, very serious player should join this profession. And then there are challenges on the management side as well. The haircut which the financial creditor and the operational creditor take is also high. And if you are an insolvency professional of a home buyer, dealing with the home buyer association, again, it becomes very challenging. So are the rewards commensurate? So first of all, do you agree that it's a very challenging profession? And second, are the rewards commensurate with the challenges and the risk?
First of all, sir, let me start with, yes, there are a lot of compliances involved. There are a lot of deadlines. Even though as a chartered accountant, we are accustomed to deadlines. There is no doubt about it. I hope I'm audible, na?
Yeah, you are.
As a chartered accountant, we are accustomed to deadlines, but these deadlines under IBC, they are on a different tangent. So these are 3-day deadlines, 1-week deadlines, maybe 75-day deadlines. And usually they are very important deadlines. You cannot miss them. So definitely because of them, there is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of push and pull from various stakeholders. One stakeholder wants you to do particular thing, another wants you to do another, in fact, a totally opposite thing. So in comparison to traditional practice, definitely there are a lot of issues involved. As you mentioned, there are big haircuts involved, and this has led to a lot of scrutiny of the process. So which is rightly warranted. So IP being in the center of it, so they have to bear the brunt of it. All the scrutiny and everything, at times they are being accused, or they are being scrutinized very heavily, and for which they have to bear the cost. So definitely the issue.
Hemant, you're gone on mute. Please unmute yourself, Hemant. We are not able to hear you. So you'll have to resolve the technology issue, and then we'll come back to you. Yes, I think we'll be able to hear you now. Please go ahead. Hemant, you can go ahead now.
Okay. Now I am audible?
Yes, now you're audible.
So as you are talking about the uncertainty about the quantum of remuneration and the kind of responsibility which comes along. See, as a chartered accountant, we have always been told responsibility and remuneration, you should not look at remuneration part at the time of fulfilling your responsibility. So once you have accepted any assignment at a particular remuneration, so definitely you are going to take that assignment through. But definitely because of new competition, a lot of new IPs have joined in, even though, mind you, in comparison to overall strength of professional available in the country in terms of CAs, CS, ICWA and advocates, only handful of them are in this profession, roughly around 3,800. But even out of those 3,800 people, 1,200 people have not even chosen to take, around approximate number I'm talking about, they have not chosen to take authorization for assignment, which is a sort of certificate of practice without which you cannot practice as an IP. Because of these only challenges, these only deadlines and a lot of push and pull from stakeholders, probably I believe they have taken a step back. Regarding the remuneration, I would say there is a lot of uncertainty involved at times with regard to quantum of remuneration due to competition. The level of remuneration which we used to get as an IP, that has definitely shrunken. Further, realization of remuneration has also taken a beating because of various, at times there is not enough cash flow involved with the corporate debtor, or due to some litigation involved. You will definitely get your remuneration, but not on a regular basis. So at times, what I've seen, IPs have to use their own personal resources in running the IBC process, which again is a strain on them. A lot of litigation and complaints are there from each side. So again, IP being in the thick and thin of the thing, he is the one who usually gets shot in the crossfiring. So that again is the reason why a lot of IPs are getting disinterested or maybe disheartened by taking up this as a full-time career. Further, if I talk about the regulation, if I talk about the process, definitely regulations and oversight is the most important thing. Because if you give full authority to any professional, be it IP or some other professional, there is bound to be some misuse of that authority. So regulation and oversight is definitely required, and which is extremely critical for the health of the process. But however, at times you feel maybe to a little bit to that extent on a relatively higher side being regulated. For each and everything you have to report and give details and submit report. So that at times become bit difficult for an IP to manage. Even though I know people who are managing, but still at times there is some default. But for that default also, they have come up with some provision for penalties and some fine provisions are there. So these are the things which I believe they are putting a strain in the minds of IP, whether or not they want to carry on with this profession or not. Further, you might be aware, you must be aware rather, due to COVID, there was a moratorium on the invocation of IBC proceeding, and further the threshold limit was also increased from 1 lakh to 1 crore in case of a default. So if you look at these events, so because of this, the workflow is also reduced in a way. So people are not getting that kind of assignment or that kind of ancillary work to thrive solely on the basis of insolvency work. So that is why, to my mind, this is a bit of a challenge which we have to overcome. But definitely, having said everything, what I understand or what I truly believe, practice of insolvency is for someone who is willing to go out of their comfort zone and take these challenges head on. Because traditionally, it's not like a traditional practice that you are sitting at your place and client is coming to your place. It's something altogether different. So comfort zone has to be sacrificed for that.
Great, Hemant. I really admire your truthfulness and the right advice. Vish, are you there on the screen? If you're there, I have a question for you. See, we always, we always face a situation where the client always wants to reduce the fee. If in 1 year he's giving X, next year he wants to give 0.95X or 0.9X. Whereas the cost of manpower increases, and obviously there are overheads as well. I mean, where is the match between the two? Is automation or technology is the answer?
That's the biggest, that's the biggest ingredient in the whole recipe, Sanjeev. Today, as I said earlier, I think audit, tax, and some of the more traditional services are going to be under a lot of pressure. Whether it is around pricing or it's around talent, I think the automation is going to play a very big role in us becoming relevant and staying relevant in this market. If we do not use some of the emerging technologies, whether it is to handle data or to handle the output of what we work on, and some of the analytics that we perform to understand the data better, to understand the business dynamics better, and we end up spending a lot of efforts in doing the work, I think we will be losing the trick. In order to provide, and we do these 3 years, 5 years contracts with the client, and client expects us to pass on the cost advantage each year, as you rightly said, whether it is 2%, 5%, 10% over a period of time. Clients are even going to the extent in saying that there is an existing provider of services. I'm happy to give this work to you on the condition that you're going to give me 30%, 40% cost advantage on day one. So I think those are, and that's the way that will happen is you'll have to take a look at a more transformational view of this. You will look at transforming the process on day one, whether it is through reducing or removing all the redundant activities that are being done, or you look at automation, which will reduce the overall efforts that are put in by people. That's the way things are progressing. So I think the investment in technology, investment in tools and data, and learning of the whole technology framework and infrastructure and ecosystem. I think that's going to be important for us to stay relevant and continue to make money in the profession.
Great. Pankaj, moving on to you. You are into, you've been doing a lot of traditional practice also. And you've been a core practitioner. The audit tools which we plan to bring from the committee for member in practice, and it's no longer a plan only. RFPs were already issued and these are being evaluated. And if need be, obviously, there could be a rebidding because they have to comply with certain set of norms. But what's going to be the role of these four digital audit tools, which is audit documentation software, data analytical software, practice management software, and digital library? And how useful will these be to a practitioner like you, and more particularly to the young members entering into the profession?
Sir, as of now, I feel the technology is overcoming the profession of the chartered accountant. Like Vish has already said that we have to be technology driven. We have to look for the automation of the things. So I see that technology is one of the things that a chartered accountant has to look for. Unless until we look for these automation, these technologies, then it will be difficult for us to survive in the future. Like you said that four softwares are coming, audit tools, data analytic tools. Unless until we adopt these tools, it will be difficult for us to survive into the practice. I understand that big corporates, big four, they can survive because they have already invested a lot of money into the automation, into the audit tools. But small practitioners, young chartered accountants, small practitioners, they do not have that kind of facility in the office. And as of now, the clientele is not that much where they can invest so much of the amount into these technology-driven things. But sir, as of now, we have to really come out of this situation, and we have to adopt the technology. We have to adopt the technology-driven tools, audit tools, and all. So this is a need of the hour that we adopt all these things.
Great. Ethan, you mentioned about some of the the expensive databases for validation, just like in international taxation. Committee for member in practice have 31 types of discount and welfare schemes, and we are soon adding 4 more. We have various tie-ups. Do you feel that there are tie-ups which are required in the field of valuation, and would you like to introduce, or rather, would you also like to highlight the benefits of the same?
Absolutely, sir. So when I talk about, we have been using one of your committee for members in practice, one of the discounted rates. We have already obtained the same capital line in the progress, I suppose. So our team is using the same. So when I talk about the added thing which need to be there, I strongly think that there must be tie-ups with the companies who are providing the valuation reports on an automated basis. So there are various companies from UK as well as US, and there are also a lot of companies in India who are providing an automated valuation reports, wherein we provides the input, wherein we provide our checkpoints, but the report formats, the calculation part has been framed by the software itself. So that is something which can be an added advantage when we talk about the members in practice who are into the valuation fields.
Yeah. So, post this webinar, if you would like to suggest some more additions, please do let us know. Hemant, the same question to you as well. Do you feel that some tie-ups should do in the which will help the members into insolvency practice reduce the cost?
Yeah, definitely, sir. As an insolvency professional, like I mentioned, there are a lot of deadlines to beat, and there is a lot of regulation requiring a lot of different works to be done at a different point of time. So we have devised a sort of Excel sheet. We use some formulas and come up with, like, these are the things are going to be done. We are required to do in maybe next week or next 15 days. But I'm yet to get to a point where somebody is coming up to me and providing me a software, like, once you put some insolvency commencement date, some particular about the corporate debtor, we are going to get these kind of reports or these kind of milestones which are you are supposed to perform. And maybe let me say a very basic form is required maybe for issue of public announcement. So that we have to use a word format. We mention all the detail, and at times there is a typing mistake. You put maybe month in place of a year, month in place of a date, and date in place of a month, and that gets published. But which is a very basic requirement. Suppose we have a software with all the basic details there, like we already use in case of income tax or GST work also. So that kind of things can be avoided, and we can get a streamlined report, or a process can be streamlined for IAP, and a lot of compliance work can be reduced, because he'll be getting a filled out form with most of the relevant information. So you have to just punch in the information once and get those information. And probably like in case with income tax, you fill out the form and you can do the compliance at income tax website. I hope some forms can come where we can fill up the form in our that software, and compliance can be done, or those software can be integrated with IPS, or maybe for that matter IBBI's website, so that a lot of IP's work can be reduced. But having said all this, I don't know commercially how soon this would be viable. As I said, there are only 3,800 people who are practicing this profession. Out of those, 1,200 have not even renewed their AFA. So relatively lesser number of people are there who are practicing. If this can be made viable, maybe with the help of institute, or maybe combination of 3 institutes, then this will be a lifesaver for insolvency professionals.
Sure. I mean, I can speak to you post this webinar. Peetam, there's a question from you from CA Prince Raj Gupta. To get registered as a valuer, is it compulsory for CA to have 10 years of experience?
So it is 5 years of experience.
Okay, very precise answer. There is a question from CA GS Jilla. He's saying, once we have the document management software, will it be possible to save the audit evidence digitally? My answer is yes. That's the objective of this audit documentation software. Certainly it will be possible. It's closing time, but before I close, in fact, there are 1,563 members watching it live, and real praise because we have taken a very broad spectrum of topics, from GST to audit to banking to valuation to insolvency to the shared service center. Probably it's the first of its kind of a program, and the members have really liked it. So thanks to all the panelists. But before I give a formal thank, maybe in one minute, if there are any closing remarks, starting with Peetam. Peetam, any closing remarks from your side?
So when I talk about friends valuation, the future is definitely very, very promising. I would also like to add one more thing. In 2019, MCA has constituted a committees of experts to examine the need of an institutional framework which need to regulate this valuation. And on the basis of that committee recommendation, there was a draft Valuer Bill 2020, which has been drafted, and it has intended to establish an NIV, that is a National Institute of Valuers. This will definitely catapult valuation as a profession for sure. And I do take my example. I did my valuation, started with a team of 2 people. Today, we are a team of 10 plus people in valuation line of services, friends. When I talk about the headcounts, my valuation team is 10% of the total headcounts. That is 10 by 100. But when I talk about the revenue is 17.5% of my total top line. So that depicts the volume, that depicts the margin of the valuation divisions for sure. And I see a great future and a tremendous professional opportunities with regard to the professional for the valuation line of services for sure.
Very passionate about valuation. Very good, Peetam. Keep it up. Moving on to you, Hemant.
Yes, sir. As Peetamji said, the future of valuation is promising. So will I say the future of insolvency is very promising. Not just because I'm a stakeholder and I want it to be promising, but yes, there is a certain concept behind it. For any work to be like for future to have a promising result, one needs to be hardworking, and for any hardworking professional, future will always be promising. But if you look at the insolvencies, whether IPs are there in this form or not, or whether at all IP concept of IPs is there or not, insolvency is going to be there in future, be it a corporate insolvency or individual insolvency, for which the broad framework has been brought up by IBC. There will be temporary hiccups, no doubt about it. As I said, due to pandemic, some changes in regulation has been done, due to which workflow is relatively less, but not completely dried up. As long as these requirements are going to be there in the ecosystem, the requirement of some professional is going to be there who is going to act like a cog in the wheel to make this wheel go round and round. So I believe IPs or chartered accountant or any other professional who are authorized to do IPs work, they have that kind of capabilities. The work is going to be there in the future. But one thing is for sure, if you are doing IP as a part-time work for the purpose, for the sake of checking out whether this work is worth doing or not, then probably you are not going to get a good assignment. But if IP is going to be your hardcore practice area, then I can assure you the working opportunities is not going to be any less. But as long as you are willing to offer yourself to high level of scrutiny, willing to work with tight deadlines, have very pushing and pulling stakeholders right in front of you and right and left to you. And lastly, you should not be averse to conflicts. If entering into conflict is not your cup of tea, then you should definitely avoid IP work. But if you can thrive in conflict and take this conflict as an opportunity, then yes, IP is going to be a great area for you. As far as the rewards are concerned, there is a sea of opportunity. But yes, with the number of professionals increasing, there is a stress on the value of fees, which we used to get as a IP. But definitely, if you commit your life or your professional life to IBC, you are definitely going to get rewarded for that. There is no doubt about it. And before I conclude, I must thank Sanjeev ji for giving me this opportunity and CMP for arranging this wonderful session. I really look forward to these opportunities in future, Sanjeev ji. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much, Hemant. Moving on to you, Pankaj, any closing comments?
Definitely, yes, sir. Friends, whether it is valuation, whether it is insolvency, whether it is banking, whether it is assurance, consulting, advisory, audit, I will just say that be aware and updated of the latest regulations. We don't see our accounting standard, auditing standards, but please look into risk assessment right from the start of the engagement risk to the reporting risk. I also say that professional skepticism. Do not question your client's honesty, but at the same time, do not assume unquestioned honesty. Transparency and relationship with the client should be maintained, and enhanced documentation should always be there for any of the assignment. In terms of enhanced documentation, I put more emphasis on the engagement letter and the management representation letter. So these are all from my side. And again, thanks to Sanjeev sir and all the participants, all the panelists for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Pankaj. Vish, closing comments from your side.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. I think we've heard lots of new things, lots of new ideas. As I think the overall message is that the profession is evolving. There are a lot of opportunities for a diverse set of services that we can offer. I think the fundamental foundation for this, the strength of the work that we do and the services that we offer is going to be our investment around the right people and the right amount of technology and data infrastructure.
Great, Vish. And this was a great program. And let me tell you that we are coming up with another, very, very unique program on 16th, which is on the future of the profession, upskilling, sustainability, and technology. So that's the theme of the webinar on 16th. And I would like to thank all the participants, the keynote address, my president, CA Praful Chajarji, my vice chairman, CA Prasannaji, the office staff, and above all the dear panelists and who are very good friends and really doing very, very well. Hemant, Vish, Pankaj, Navya, and Peetam, and wishing all of you the very best in your future endeavor. I wish that those who want to take the leadership at the institute level, should get a due chance, and hope to see you there and wish you good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Thanks, sir.
Sanjeev.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks.